Hey everyone, I'm back to read an excerpt from When Love Takes Over. Here is the cover, in case you haven't seen it. Isn't it delicious? The cover was done by Michael Briette, and if you haven't gone to his website, I recommend you do so. You can go to www.briette.com and you can see more of his artwork. And just so you all know, Michael Briette's artwork will grace the covers of all four of the books in the Provincetown series. So I consider myself pretty lucky to be able to have his artwork on my covers. So as I said, I'm going to read an excerpt from When Love Takes Over. The excerpt I'm going to share, for those of you who do not know too much about the book, the story is about Zach, a bumbling author who's just gone through a tough breakup, and he's flown to Provincetown to find himself and other things. And it's also about Van, who is a porn star who is quite happy with his life, but he's having a bit of an identity crisis right now. And so this excerpt that I'm going to read is when Van first sees Zach, and their setting is in a leather store. Okay. Van stood against the back wall of the leather shop, thankful for the brief break from his adoring fans. Although he enjoyed the attention, it sometimes overwhelmed him. Did Susan Lucci go through the same thing with her adoring soap fans? Like La Lucci, he enjoyed the spotlight and the notoriety, but sometimes he wanted to go all Erica Kane on their asses and slap the shit out of them, especially the ones who thought it was okay to grab his cock. Van was obviously not a prude, but he didn't enjoy people thinking being a porn star meant it was okay to get all handsy. Had Susan Lucci ever had one of her fans honk her boobs? He seriously doubted that. Most days, Van could deal with the celebrity his role provided, even the guys who saw with their hands instead of their eyes. But today, he just didn't have the strength. The loneliness that had come over him earlier persisted, and he needed to shake it off. When he made it to FK Leather, after being stopped 3 more times since leaving Nino's sucking face in front of Adam's pharmacy, he quickly ducked inside. The gear shop didn't get as many customers as some of the other stores. Those who came in usually gawked at the merchandise, manhandling the giant-sized butt plugs or poking fun at the assless chaps. Few, if any, made it all the way to the back of the store, where the currently occupied fitting room was located. That suited Van's needs. He was safely hidden from overeager fans. The front door to the store swung open, and Van cursed under his breath at the thought of being followed in here. He moved behind the display case, which held the more expensive cock rings, nipple clamps, ball weights, and sounding devices. Behind him sat the racks where the deprivation suits and cat suits hung. Unless the new customer was a real pig, he'd be safe. The door to the dressing room opened, and Andrew, the store manager, poked his head out into the store. "I'll be right with you," he told the customer. The man on the other side of the store mumbled an incoherent reply. Andrew glanced over at Van and rolled his eyes. "Another looky-loo?" Van asked in a whisper. "Most likely. It's Twink Week, after all," Andrew replied in disgust. "I don't know why those fairies even come in this store. It's not like they buy anything that isn't brightly colored or bedazzled." Van took stock of the predominantly black garments, mostly comprised of leather, rubber, or neoprene. "None of that here," he commented. "Damn straight. If they start making gear for twinks, I think I'll kill myself." Van laughed. Twinks weren't the most celebrated visitors to Provincetown. The younger and more finicky of the gay groups to descend upon the town, they were all in their early 20s and rarely ate, since they all had to be skinny. They dressed only in designer clothes and therefore visited the high-end retail shops along Commercial Street. Most wouldn't be caught dead in a full rubber bodysuit, since it would most likely mess up their hair. They also didn't tip well and were downright bitchy. To say they weren't celebrated tended to be an understatement. Van gestured to the other side of the store, where the unseen customer still shopped. "Will that twink recognize me?" Andrew snorted so hard he almost blew the diamond stud out of his nose. He looked back over at the customer and smiled politely at him before returning his gaze to Van. When he spoke, his voice was barely audible. "First of all, that guy's not a twink. He's got to be somewhere in his 30s, at least. Secondly, this guy doesn't look like he's got himself together enough to know about anybody else's business. I mean, really? Baggy-ass camouflage cargo shorts paired with a blue and white striped shirt? He has zero fashion sense and looks lost in here, so I doubt he's a porn connoisseur. I think you're safe." Andrew glanced back at the customer to flash another smile. "Besides, he looks straight." Really? Van asked, as he slowly inched his way around the display case. Look for yourself, Andrew motioned. Those twinks out there will eat him alive. And not in a good way, either. When Van finally moved enough past the case to get a peek, he couldn't believe his eyes. Although the guy's back was turned to him, Van could see that not only did his clothes clash worse than most professional golfers, but they were also far too big on him. Not only was his shirt blousy, but his short hung far too low on his legs, looking more like capri pants, which they obviously were not. Although he couldn't tell much about the guy's body, he could definitely tell the man in no way filled out the oversized clothes. To top it off, his full head of ginger hair had no product. That wasn't necessarily a bad thing. Some guys successfully pulled off the disheveled look. This guy didn't. His hair stood up like flames dancing around a campfire. Quite simply, the man looked like a hot mess. Van couldn't fathom why anyone visiting Provincetown would present himself so sloppily, especially during a week devoted to prissy, judgmental queens. Didn't he understand he would be judged harshly? Didn't he realize he cut his tricking potential down to zero? This guy needed to buy a vowel and get clued into how things worked around here. I told you, Van sung behind him. Van nodded in agreement and chuckled. Yeah, it's bad. Real bad. Then, something unexpected happened. When the guy turned around, Van forgot how to breathe. Alright, so that's the end of this first excerpt, and I'll see you all back in the comments. Bye.